The Rise of Power, Idi Amin.
My mission is to lead the country out of the bad situation of corruption, depression, and slavery. After I rid the country of these vices, I will organize and supervise a general election of a genuinely democratic civilian government. And with this knife, I will succeed.
Lord help Zambia and Uganda, for he will free a government from tyranny to democracy.
Here we have Idi Amin Mawe, nicknamed Kinjambia, the Butcher of Uganda. In 1971, Idi Amin held a military coup d'etat against Uganda's second president, Milton Obote, challenging his power and government with his machete waving in the air of terror. Known for his brutal regime against his own people, Idi Amin is considered as one of the cruelest dictators in history. So how exactly did Idi Amin get to such power with such cruel methods? As a soldier in the British Army, they cannot hold me back. I must rise in power in the independence of Uganda. Through its military, I may achieve officership and conquer the world. Idi Amin was limited by the British Army's restrictions on African American soldiers, restricting their ranks, despite Amin's strong contributions to the United Kingdom's military and campaigns. Thus, he pursued greater roles in the Ugandan military and became recognized for his relentless strength and lack of fear from death. However, this sense of carelessness will follow him into his presidency and policies for the government. Time to go to the Commonwealth Conference. I'm sure the rest of the government can control Uganda while I'm gone. We shall also discuss matters of the arrest of Officer Amin. His power within government is getting too powerful, and we must stop him at once. Today is January 25th, 1971. President Milton Obote, my partner, is in Singapore for a meeting, and now is my chance to attack, to overthrow the government for my own. Now, I stab my dagger in the air, in the heart of the government, and take it for my own. I shall become the true president and chief of the armed forces that Uganda needed from the start. This moment will mark the beginnings of President Idi Amin's rule from 1971 to 1979. Amin's leadership and take on policies can be compared to his prominent beliefs in Adolf Hitler's rule, stating, "Although some people felt Adolf Hitler was bad, he was a great man and a real conqueror whose name would never be forgotten." Amin's presidential leadership attempted to replicate positions of Hitler's Reich, highlighted by political obstruction, government decisions based solely on Amin's rule, the formation of fear between the people and the government, dishonest propagandized political campaigns, and acting as a foreign menace of malpractice in government. Thus, we enter the uncharted dominance of Idi Amin's rise to power in Uganda. I am the hero of Africa! President Idi Amin held himself to high regards, believing that he had saved the entirety of Africa from colonial hands and resurrected the power of Africa on the global stage. With these high hopes, he attempted to please the people of Uganda by releasing political prisoners. However, his actions did not come without personal intent. My mission is to lead the country out of the bad situation of corruption, depression, and slavery. After I rid the country of these vices, I will organize and supervise a general election of a genuinely democratic civilian government. And with this knife, I will succeed. We shall have free and fair elections to bring democracy to Uganda. But little did they know, now that the people trust me for releasing Obote's political prisoners. I can take matters into my own hands. I have a military bending at my will. Execute Obote's supporters and do not let anyone know. I shall not be challenged. I shall not. President Amin is said to have executed 300,000 of his own 12 million Ugandan population. However, the exact numbers are faded by the undocumented execution orders. Idi Amin's statement of a nation under democracy was a ruse to enhance his public appeal as he slowly increased his titles and positions throughout governance. From President and Chief of the Armed Forces in 1971, Field Marshal in 1975, and Life President in 1976, raising his positions of power without contestment. We have covered Idi Amin's releasing political prisoners under Obote's presidency and his execution of Obote's supporters. However, his growth of public support and control of power did not end there. President Amin will order the execution of certain ethical groups to increase his favor within his own larger classes. His targets will conspire the Acholi and Lango ethnic groups, military personnel against him, and civilians unwilling to conspire to Amin's dictatorship.
We must stop the presses against Idi Amin! We must let the people know how he is coming for the press, for the people, for the educators, for the students and bureaucrats. There is no democracy. This is a dictatorship. Wait, what's that noise?
Three, two, one, breach! As President Amin's list of targets increased, he aimed at removing the Asian minority population from Uganda in 1972 in hopes of liberating a sole Ugandan ethnic society, similar to Hitler's sole Aryan rule. However, the decision will be the first critical mistake towards the fall of Idi Amin's power. Take down the Asian minority, and we shall please the people. This nation requires Ugandans to be successful, not the Asians in the industry. Cripple their rights and hammer, and do it at once. Although the Asian population was a minority and seen as less than the Ugandan population, they controlled the majority of business and industry in Uganda. President Amin's actions towards pleasing the Ugandan people ended up resulting in the destruction of Uganda's economy. In hopes of resolving the situation, the government attempted to relocate property with minimal avail, rendering this 5 shilling Ugandan bill worthless. We may have destroyed the economy, but I am the final King of Scotland and conqueror of the British Empire in Africa. The United Kingdom shall not tyrannize us any longer.
No, you can't do that, Amin. You were never officially crowned or accepted.
Idi Amin's rampancy within his government caused international problems, claiming himself as a savior, a hero, and a conqueror of nations worldwide. His public denouncements have left Uganda in terrible standings with foreign nations, accepting a foreign policy of solely arms deals in attempts for economic stability. His people were fearful of the government, and foreign nations did not take Uganda as a threat for serious military engagement. Thus, Uganda was left alone in the hands of President Amin, dictator of a nation with minimal foreign aid. My civil rule is seen through a mask. These people began seeing me as a man of Ugandan society, liberating us through the absolution of the Asian minority and liberating us through democracy. The fools. Through my reign, I have slowly removed this mask and revealed my true brutality, my true self. I am the life president, Idi Amin Dada Umawe. Idi Amin's civil atmosphere had been marked by the militarization of all sectors of government. Civilian positions had been replaced by Amin's trusted military officers. Suspension of the Ugandan constitution, further execution of political challengers and impure peoples, and the nationalism of business and industry from a forced removal of the Asian minority. Amin will further personalize the government to act under his sole dictatorial orders, based on Amin's rage and fury in Uganda. We must look back at his origins, as Amin had only decided to overthrow former President Obote after his position as the chief of the military had been threatened, comparatively to Stalin's threat for the eviction of power. Amin would create the Ugandan State Research Bureau, also known as the SRB, to torture and perform executions under a government blind eye, allowing him to control the nation through an iron fist. Amin would further divert attention of the people away from himself by creating civil wars within the military of Uganda, by combining culturally different peoples, such as the soldiers of British descent with Israeli, and former ethnic war zones between the north and south sectors of Uganda. The divide would involve fighting between the ethnic groups of Amin, the Lubara and Kukawa, against Obote's ethnic groups, the Asholi and Langi, in hopes of raising his ethnic group to political and military power. As mentioned by the SRB as a form of legalized torture and executions, President Amin promoted and engaged in state terrorism to solidify his position in power against the civilians, his own Ugandan civilians. A common symbol is in the sight of leftover shoes on a sidewalk, symbolizing the final steps of a victim into execution in the local area. Death and anomaly plagued Uganda under Amin's brutal role. Get him, and leave the people a message of my strength. No one shall defy me. Oh no. We need foreign aid to fund my military and economy, no matter what it takes. We must look into any option and befriend anyone who offers us less than what we demand. We are Uganda, we are the people, and we demand what we need. In 1972, the Soviet Union became Uganda's largest arms dealer and provider of military assistance, aligning itself further from the aid of the United Kingdom and United States. As Amin aimed to further increase his power, he later sought help from East Germany to form Amin's secret police unit. However, Amin's measures were purely reactionary towards the state of his nation, creating severe long-term cracks in his governance. As funding for the Ugandan military became more difficult after the destruction of industry under Amin's control, President Amin altered his foreign policy by plundering his deals with Israel and denouncing their rule in hope to gain military and financial aid from Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. Mr. President, President Amin of Uganda is becoming too rampant. We have to stop him at once, Mr. President. Form a trade boycott against Uganda. Yeah. The United States of America could now trust Idi Amin's reactionary measures and signing with the communists, thus forming a trade boycott against him as of 1978, towards the end of Idi Amin's rule and dictatorship of Uganda. President Amin's reaction to the boycott was by banning any Christian church activities within Uganda as a moment to spite the United States. However, on July 3rd, 1976, Operation Entebbe, also known as Operation Thunderbolt, was a major situation placing Uganda's government on the global scale as a menace to all. President Amin offered Palestinian hijackers of Air France Flight 139 a protected base to land on to establish greater relationships with the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, in exchange for the release of Israeli hostages. However, President Amin's plan for foreign aid between the nations ended horrifically.
Commandos, prepare to extract the hostages. 3, 2, 1, move, move, move! We got the hostages, let's go, let's go, let's go! Let's get out of here!
Israeli commandos succeeded in rescuing the hostages without President Amin's aid, humiliating his attempts to act as a mediator for the Air France crisis. As payback for the humiliation, President Amin ordered the retaliation order of executing one of the Israeli hostages, an elderly woman, and the entire civilian staff of the airport. The global perspective of Uganda became widely negative in disbelief that the averted crisis resulted in a larger crisis in the loss of innocent life at the hands of Amin, a mediator between the two nations. Idi Amin would be overthrown in 1979 by the very man he overthrew to gain power in Uganda, former President Milton Obote, and it internationally supported military backing. It would take Obote 8 coup attempts before successfully overthrowing Amin, with Obote officially becoming the president 1 year later in 1980. However, President Obote would be left to repair the destruction Idi Amin left in his wake. From the destroyed economy, ordered to remove the Asian minority, foreign backlash, civil unrest as wages were cut by 90% under Amin's rule, distrust of the government for propaganda, Amin's military officers still in office, civil wars for ethnic superiority, and the numerous 300,000 executions of Ugandan life haunting the land. Idi Amin would flee to Saudi Arabia for safety, later dying of kidney failure on the 16th of August, 2003, at the age of 78. Sometimes, people mistake the way I talk for the way I am thinking. I never had any formal education, not even a nursery school certificate. But sometimes, I know more than the PhDs. Because as a military man, I know how to act. I am a man of action.
Hey, see that? See that right there? That sign? Yeah? That one? Yeah?
That's my target.